talking about thirst for blood.
Oh, I thought you were talking about beer.
Blood, and this is
that's not good. I don't want blood.
Well, you don't want blood in a Korean film because you know it's gonna be fucked up.
Yeah,
plus especially in a Korean film directed by Chan-wook Park,
and it's probably made by little kids for like 3 cents an hour or something.
They actually took blood from little kids in a sweatshop.
Exactly.
We had to make this movie bleed. No, you're right. This is the guy that did Old Boy and did the other Revenge.
Old Boy, the whole Revenge trilogy. Yeah. Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, Sympathy for Lady Vengeance,
Joint Security Area.
Yeah, and then of course I'm a Cyborg, and that's okay.
I never heard of that movie.
That was his last film. It was a comedy. It was not at all like his. Yeah, it was not at all like his other stuff.
So, well, this is a movie about vampires. Vampires are very much the trend right now.
And keep in mind, not because Asians usually have those weird hopping vampires.
They do.
Yes, but not this time. This is the American style.
Yeah, you showed me some movie about the vampires and bunny suits hopping around and shit.
Yeah, they're weird. The whole you want to see? There's a movie called Mr. Vampire. It started it all, but there's hundreds of them, and they're like weird hopping like zombie vampires.
Sounds like a Takashi Miike film or something.
Oh, he's done one, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They've all done.
Yeah, all these dudes. They're obsessed with blood and crazy shit. So of course they're gonna do a vampire.
Well,
movie.
I need to see it.
But this movie, the trend that's going on in our country here in the United States is that vampires are very romantic and
they glitter
and they glow. Yeah,
Yeah.
No, they're very. Yeah, you're right. They are very angsty. They are very, and they're still kind of dangerous. But they appeal to women. Women love them. And in this movie, we take a different approach. This movie centers on a priest who goes to a medical experiment. And I don't know what the hell kind of experiment he went to. First of all, the experiment itself is fucked up because it has the potential to make you burst into blisters and bleed in your muscles and pretty much kill you.
They're testing out a vaccine against some really terrible new virus. And he volunteers, even though knowing there's not a very high chance of survival because, he's a priest and I guess he's got guilt or something. I don't know. What do priests do?
He's through with it all.
We don't have a lot in common, me and priests. But he volunteers for it and it doesn't work out, and he ends up looking like an inflatable thing at a parade.
But if that's not crazy enough that he's taking a risk at being injected with this really sick disease, they even fuck up a little bit more and give him a blood transfusion that turns him into a vampire. It's like this week he was double fucked before he went in. And so now we expect maybe this movie to turn to a horror film from this point on because it has been grotesque at this point. But it moves on to a love story, and a very bizarre love story. This priest starts to fall for the wife of a childhood friend of his, and she is kind of falling for him because she knows there's something not exactly right about him. She doesn't know that he's a vampire yet, but he's interesting enough to take her out of his very mundane life that he has at the moment.
Yeah, and out of her mundane life, too. She's got a shitty situation that she
that's what I'm saying, out of her mundane life.
Oh, you said his.
Did I say his? Well, both of them are boring.
It's not that kind of movie.
I mean, he's a priest. Let's face it. His life ain't roller coasters and parties either. So.
No, not at all. This guy's like moping throughout the entire film.
Yeah, I mean, and
just like, what the fuck happened to you,
imagine
dude?
Even a priest.
Don't you believe in God?
Even a guy who does still believe in God, who wants to do the right thing. After all that, when you discover you can practically fly and you're super strong and shit, you're probably going to get some tail at some point.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what this guy does.
And that's what he says. He's like, I've been walking around looking like Dark Man through half this movie, and I haven't gotten any sex my whole life. He's like, I'm finally pulling some women by being able to do these crazy things, and I'm going to take the plunge.
Although what I really found interesting and brilliant about this film was the fact that, I get really bored with a lot of sex in films nowadays because it's like, films can't give us the level of sex that we can easily, readily, for free access on the internet. It's very tame, it's very chaste, and it just gets really boring. And what they do here is they use it as character development. Throughout the few sex scenes that are in this movie, they're really profound, they're really powerful, and they say something about the characters, and you're involved in watching it not as watching the sex act, but watching these two people kind of grow and involve themselves in each other's lives.
And the thing is, you forgot to mention that the sex acts are very noisy, too. I've never experienced a film where...
Squishy.
Yeah, squishy sucking thumbs could just sound so vile and disgusting where you see two people kissing this movie and you actually go, yuck.
It's weird. It's trying to be erotic and ugly at the same time, and it manages it. I mean, you're kind of turned on and turned off at the same time watching this.
See, I was not even turned on. I'm going to get turned on. Somebody show a toe and I'm turned on. I got a hard on. But no, in this movie, it's meant to, I kind of think,
toe? Really?
Yeah, man, I am a horny son of a bitch. I see a toenail, I got a boner. But no,
Damn, calm down, Quentin.
No, so this movie, no, I don't think it's meant to entice you in any kind of way. This is meant to actually seem disgusting, disturbing, kind of vile, but even more so, it just goes to show you what path that these people are heading down. I mean, it's a very ugly road that they're about to enter, and so I think the sex is kind of a metaphor for that in the beginning.
But you guys make it sound like it's just really fucking nasty.
No, it's
sex.
bizarre.
And
I don't think it wasn't supposed to be unappealing. At all.
I didn't find it revolting or in any way dirty or nasty. It was very realistic. It was not they fall into bed and the music plays and the sheets roll and the fireplace burns in the background. It was very much two people fucking in a room.
I have to agree,
Awkwardly
Corey.
real.
Yeah. I have to agree. I don't know what kind of sex you're having, Corey, but I like my sex nice and dirty and noisy too. And let me tell you one thing too, before we forget to mention, the chick in this movie is fucking hot.
She is
and the thing is, for some reason, like at the beginning of the movie, she seems very beaten down. Just life is beating her down every single day. But when she starts to get involved with this priest, and they start finding places to do their thing, it's like the crazier this relationship gets, the hotter she gets.
Yeah.
Until you find out somewhat that she's not really all there when it's time to get down and dirty. I mean, that's the one cool thing about this chick's character that I really loved about this film.
Well, keep in mind, I wasn't saying like that they're like shitting on each other or anything like that. It's just
What?
It's just that there's certain scenes where
some vampires are into that.
Some vampire. Chuck Berry,
I've
this
seen
was a vampire.
Yeah.
No. What I'm saying is that there are just some scenes where it's just not very appealing at all. I mean, you have her trying to. She always has her husband on top of her, and she's married to this guy because of a circumstance. She was an orphan. And when she was adopted by this family who had this son, they had to share a room together. Eventually, they got married probably because of pressure. And
The son seems like he's got something's wrong with his mind.
he's kind of mentally ill, but he's always sweaty and moist, and he's always trying to get sex from her. Then there's other scenes where they're having to draw blood from each other. So it's not meant to be comfortable or sexy at all. The love scenes in this.
But the thrust of this movie was really great. It's the story of this guy who is a vampire, but is trying desperately to cling to his humanity. And in fact, becoming a vampire makes him feel more human than anything has in his life. And he's actually exploring his humanity. And we watch as these two characters slowly go down the road of potentially being monsters, and watch as they try to grasp on desperately.
I would argue that is the modern thrust of almost all vampire fiction, and that's not the way this film deviates from the others. I mean, that is a pretty standard.
Sure.
Like, that's where they've been going since Anne Rice decided.
But this is the one where they get it right and they never glorify being a vampire.
Yeah, they don't turn it into some soft, pretty thing at all. And as it goes on, it becomes more and more like a horror.